All righty. Good morning, everybody. That's 9 o'clock. We're going to get started with this month's Industry Hour. I want to thank everybody for hopping on this morning. Today, we have a great speaker. It's Josh Bone, who's the Executive Director of ELECTRI International, which is the research branch of NECA. So today, he's going to present on why it's time to embrace innovative technologies in the construction industry. So you all do have the ability to unmute yourselves and speak to ask questions. But I do ask, let Josh speak, and if you have a question, you can use the chat feature, or just politely interrupt Josh's presentation. So this is being recorded, and we'll have it posted on the chapter's website afterwards. So if you would like to share with anyone in your company, please do so. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Josh.
Rob, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'll tell you, everyone, if you do want to ask questions, I encourage you to ask questions. I'm going to throw a lot at you here in a very short period of time. And one of the things you can do is just hover your mouse over the screen in Zoom, and there's reactions at the bottom. You can hit raise hand. So if you want to stop at any time or type it in the chat, Rob, monitor it for me if you don't mind. But of course, just turn on your camera and raise your hand. I'll be looking at you. And again, I'd love to see all your beautiful faces. If you can, turn on your camera, but I understand. So first, let me say, I love what I'm doing at ELECTRI. I have been in this position now for just over 2 years. I started my career in the late 90s doing 3D modeling before the term BIM ever came about. I was fortunate to be on the front end of being some of the first people to actually use on projects, robotic total stations in construction for MEP layout, to use laser scanners. I am a construction technologist. I've always been involved in 3D modeling from the beginning and using apps and helping companies go through their digital transformation. So this is what I'm excited about. And listen, I'm very excited about where the electrical contracting profession is as a whole. And I look at this and I say, my goal for all of you, I'm here to hear you, that I want all of you to know that you can come to me. If you see a trend, if you see something happening, I want you to know that you can come to me. The guy I don't want to be is Jim Keyes, the former CEO of Blockbuster, that would make a statement like neither Redbox nor Netflix are even on our radar screen in terms of competition. He had an opportunity. The CEO of Netflix came to him and said, I'll sell at 50 million. We need you to help us scale. I'll come to you at 100 million. I'll give you, this is my last chance. We can scale and grow so much faster. This is the future. And he made this comment at this yellow line. And what I want to make sure that I'm helping the electrical contracting profession not miss out on those opportunities. We're going to talk about a lot of these opportunities for your business today and how you can diversify your business, where you can be growing and some of the things you can be doing. But when you've got an opportunity to get in at 50 million or 100 million and you've got that money, and a company now today is worth over 200 billion. Those are the kind of things that we don't want us to do. And I want us to think about this. This is something I often think about. I'm always trying to challenge myself to stay ahead of the trends that are happening in the industry. I need you to help me do that. But I think the Edward Deming story is one of the most important stories that we can look at today in the world that we've been in. Our economy's been pretty good, and I think I'm very optimistic about where we're going on the electrical contracting profession heading forward. Edward Deming came into the Ford and General Motor plants and took a process of what ended up becoming the lean methodologies and what became Six Sigma. He was at the very beginning of all of this. And he took from building a B-2 bomber during World War II from 18 days down to 14 hours. And Ford and General Motors saw this firsthand right in their own facilities during World War II. And then after World War II, Ford and General Motors had an opportunity. Edward Deming came to them and said, let me help you with this and do this in your own facilities with your own automotive industry. And let's transform this. And he's famous for focusing on quality. And then by focusing on quality and repetition, you can drive down costs and make a better product. Ford and General Motors were very complacent after World War II. They didn't have pressure from Japan. They didn't have outside pressure from Germany. And that complacency led to, even today, who sold more cars in the United States of America in 2021 than anybody else? Toyota. We've never made up that gap. But we've got to be careful. This industry has a lot of opportunities, and we've got to see it. And here's the thing. The future's here right now. The electrical contractors profile. The EC magazine puts this out every 2 years, the electrical contractors profile. And they survey thousands of NECA contractors and look at the type of work that they're doing. When they started this in 2004, 73% of the work of a NECA contractor was T&D, running power through a building, conduit, and just power distribution. From 2004 to 2016, that had gone from just over 70% of our work to over 40% of our work. And between 2016 and 2018, that fell from just over 40% to right around 25% of the work of a NECA contractor. And the thing I will say is a lot of that work is getting further and further commoditized. We see a lot of our large contractors are subbing out to our other contractors in markets, pulling wire and doing other types of work that they're not even, some of our bigger contractors don't want to be doing themselves. They'll sub that out to other NECA contractors in those markets. We're the frog in the pot right now. And I'm not saying get out. I'm just saying be aware that it's and understand what's happening. And what all this is, where I see the opportunity, the 21st century is the century of the electrical contractor. I absolutely believe that. With industrialization of construction and what's happening with the way that we design and construct, and then our buildings, the ability to have smart buildings and smart cities with smart infrastructure is a huge opportunity for us to do more service work. CURT is a group that I've worked with for many years, the Construction User Roundtable. That's Microsoft, that's Google, that's Intel, that's Procter & Gamble, Owens Corning, Merck. You know, they've really changed their mindset of how they're looking at buildings. And Google told me just a few weeks ago, Google has basically said, we're going to sign more prime contracts with subcontractors in the next 2 years on work that we have than we've ever in the history of Google doing construction, because they see the opportunity of working with electrical and mechanical contractors, that we need to make smarter decisions, not get so caught up in the design phases of trying, being in the business of saving money and forgetting we got to make money. We've got to operate this building. This is what CURT accepts. That's what these owners say. 13% of the cost of a building is in design and construction. 87% of the cost of a building is in operating and maintaining. And I use this as an example. This is in my backyard. I live in Atlanta. I'm in DC right now, but the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport just announced this last Friday that there's so much opportunity in service work. Clean renewable energy by 2035, ACI net zero by 2050, but energy retrofits that are actually taking the building entirely electric for all electric systems. And they're partnering with Southern Company and Georgia Power. Southern Company has this platform called ARBNCO. It's their platform and of how they meter and look at data through how energy is being consumed, and then giving feedback on how that energy can be conserved and do load shedding. This is a huge opportunity for all of us in this industry. And here's the thing I want you to think about is, how are you going to position yourself? You're going to have to sell your company in a different way going forward. And it's going to require some change. And I'll say this, the only thing that pain drives change, that there's something not working right. And I'll be the first to say, as doing in my job, helping a lot of companies change over the years, change is hard. Change is not easy, but change is essential for all of your businesses right now to adapt and stay ahead of this pace of change that we all see. Every one of us can look across the industry, and whether it's our quality of labor, whether it's the schedule of projects, whether it's owner requirements or GCs now only doing no self-performing and just becoming paper pushers. We've seen so much. Every one of us has seen a ton of change in our industry, and a lot of it's more happening to us than us kind of managing that from the front. So again, let's be realistic about where we are. When I came into the industry and I was doing coordination, and they would put me in a job trailer, if there was 24 electricians on that job site, 20 of them could probably run work 24 years ago. And today we might be lucky if 4 of them can run work on the job site that it is. And not only are we looking at that lack of skilled labor that's out there, we're missing 1.3 million fewer people in the industry. A lot of those are electrical contractors, a lot of those electricians, but we have 13% fewer people across the AEC industry than we did in 2007. That number is rising today, and it's projected to be over 3 million by 2028. So we're going to have to do more with less. Work safety has remained flat really for well over a decade. Projects are at an all-time high of being behind budget and behind schedule. There's never, and I think a lot of that's just done incorrectly up front. The GCs are setting expectations up front that we'll work 6/10s. And Rob and I have been talking about that lately, that trying to tell an owner and making that commitment on 6/10s, that we know that's going to increase absenteeism. We know that's going to impact performance and productivity. There's a number of things that we have to take into consideration. But owners also we're all seeing material cost right now and where it's at. And I would even say these are conservative numbers, because we can probably look at some of this here and say some of the products that we use daily are significantly more, costing us a lot more. So we've got to find ways of reducing waste. And that's something I want all of you, that's a term I want you to all be thinking about here, is how do we reduce waste and what's a competitive advantage? And one of the things I think we have to address first and foremost that's impacting our industry is the gap today from what is permit set of documents, construction documents from the engineers, to what is ultimately shop drawings. That gap is widening each and every year. You look at a set of plans today compared to what a set of plans looked like 20 years ago, can't even compare them. Everybody agree with that? I don't think anybody would disagree that we've become the last stage of design. Electrical contractors are taking on more risk than ever before. How do we manage that risk? How do we communicate and start to be more transparent? I think that is a critical part of what we have to do going forward. The owners, if they're going to sign prime contracts with us, we've got to have a way of better sharing and communicating what's happening at any time. We can't hold our cards close to the vest anymore. We've got to leverage data to change the way we communicate. And what I want to challenge all of you here on the call today is this. I want you to start thinking about technology like you do tools. The same way that you think about the tools that are in your electrician's hands, the apps and tools that you're using today in your company, you should have the same mindset that you're not going to send an electrician out there to the field without the proper tools and materials. We need to be thinking the same way with construction technology. You need to be thinking about your phones, your tablets, your apps, the way that we digitize our digital transformation of time cards and all of these things can help us see things, find unknown unknowns. And a lot of us here are in this mindset when it comes to technology is I hear our contractors across the country. So, well, it's increasing my overhead. So it hurts my ability to compete by investing in technology. I think that mindset of it, if you're more focused on saving money and as looking at this as an opportunity where you can make money is a real mindset shift that you need to start thinking about in your own company. You need to be challenging yourself and looking at who in your company can help you embrace some of these workflows. I don't care the size of a company. Everybody should have a technology committee today that's broken up of your different pillars of your company, whether it's finance, whether it's operations. You need different representation from all of those key components of your business to be sitting on that technology committee to be very strategic in how you invest in construction technology. Because here's what construction technology, when it's done right, you think about your people first. Number one is people. Then you think about your process. What are our strengths in our people? What is our current process? And then you use technology to fill that gap. How we communicate from the office to the field, how can we improve that? Technology, when it's used correctly, can do that. When you use technology, it can save time, it can reduce redundancies, it can reduce errors and omissions in your process. When you think about people, process, then technology. All of you have R&D tax credits that you could be using towards some of these things and how you implement this. For me personally, let's use something simple. If you pull out your phone right now, if you pull out your phone, open up your app for your pictures. When you pull that out and you type in hat so go to the bottom right hand corner, go to search. When you go to search, type in hat. So open up your phone, go to your pictures and go to search and type in hat. It finds every picture on your phone that someone's wearing a hat. It'll tell you if there's a cowboy hat, it'll tell you cowboy hat. If it says, it may say hatchback for a car, but that's using artificial intelligence. And today, if you want to type in, it's pretty early in the morning, but if I want to see a picture of me having a adult beverage, I just type in, BEER, and it will find pictures of beer in my photos that are out there because it uses artificial intelligence. It's just making my life easier. Well, I travel a lot, and I bought 4 of these AirTags. And when I left the office last night and I went to dinner, and it sends me a notification on my phone. Hey, you left your backpack behind. And just give me a notification. Or if my backpack goes away, this is something I use to help me track my suitcase if my suitcase gets lost, or my backpack, which is very important to me, is something I track. And Milwaukee has their tools, and there's solutions that are out there for this. But for me, this is a simple solution that incorporates technology into an easy way that it makes sense for my life. So that's what you have to look at. And one of the things I want to talk about for you is all of you are at different stages in your digital transformation. COVID pushed a lot of this, and I'll tell you what, today there's safety apps that we've got on our phones and our tablets that we can use. We've got apps now that can, on your phone, that can sense if your phone's dropped or if someone's fallen, or putting this on a watch now. This is collecting data. These apps have digitized a process where you can fill out forms, you have information readily at your fingertips, and we can use safety apps to track this. Now, we're going to talk about what that means on the back end. What we're missing a lot of times, some of us are using these apps, but are you getting the most out of this investment of this app? Digital forms. These are some of the products that our NECA contractors across the country use. Depending on your market that you're in, some of these are going to have better support locally. So I wouldn't recommend any one of these individually, but looking at these tools today, if you're passing around paper forms, whether it's terminating an employee, or it's a time card, or whatever it may be, you can digitize your forms. And by digitizing forms, there's so much value in understanding. We can look at absenteeism, we can track absenteeism, we can look at cost codes. There's so much that we can do by digitizing this process and taking some of these most simple paper documents that you're using today and rolling this in to a workflow, a process that saves time for the foreman, for the accounting process, for all of these different aspects of your businesses that's touching each of these different components. And it's getting easier to capture this information. Nifty uses just a simple, for doing daily reports, it uses a text message process. FieldBox will call me. FieldBox can call, I set it to call me when I'm leaving at 3:30 at the end of every day. FieldBox call me. An automated attendant calls me and says, hey, Josh, are you ready to give your daily report? I can say, no, call me back in 15 minutes. It'll call me back in 15 minutes. Then it will ask me a series of questions that creates a daily report for me automatically and logs it, pushes it right to our project management platform. But Nifty uses this process. It sends a text message, and you can have it send it out. I'm looking at doing some research right now on just tracking morale on a job. And what does that mean? We're looking at doing some research just to, how do we see what morale and how it translates to a job? This is someone you can talk to text, but this is a foreman answering this question. 2 guys for 3 hours. Hey, is this exactly what you're looking for? That's it. It's that easy to start capturing some of that information. They're making it easier and more passively to collect this data. And today too, we've got all these amazing tools, but a lot of times when I'm spending time and energy trying to find something, if I I've got all of my research indexed now through ELECTRI for 34 years of research. And if I go open up my Dado app and I simply want to find something on crew ratios, all I have to do is just crew ratios. So it does crew ratios, and anything with crew ratios shows up right there, and it highlights them based off materials. So if you're looking for a certain piece of information in a spec or a service manual, you just upload these to any of the tools that you're already using. Dado indexes all that. So instead of trying to find that one needle in the haystack, how much time's wasted on the job site, Dado's a tool that we can use to to be able to help us find those things. Again, saving how much time, if you think about this with your teams, how much time is spent on a job site daily trying to look for that one piece of information. If you've got a BIM team, I set this up on my tablet off to the side because when I'm modeling, I'll find what I'm looking for in that spec so I know what size of conduit I need to be modeling in. And 360 cameras, let me tell you, this is an amazing tool that is very simple and easy to lay out for all of you. Any of you can use these 360 cameras and set up a process on a job site that all of you can do virtual job walks. By using these 360 cameras, you put them with a foreman and you say, hey, every Tuesday, by the end of the day, you go out and you use one of these apps, Open Space, Hollow Builder, Construction Site, and we upload the plans into the cloud and we just take our pictures. You take a picture and you do that week over week, you can create a timeline now that you can go back in time and see when things were installed, go back and be able to say, hey, they installed, they had carpenters in here over the weekend putting in walls. And now that's messed up our whole process of doing our layout because now we've got to deal with the walls. Any of you can start to do virtual job walks of your projects through doing these 360 cameras. It's just another way of taking these simple apps, uploading your plans, and documenting your job site. It's even integrating now into some of these tools like Numerics, like I told you about the hat search for hat on your phone. It's using artificial intelligence that's more focused on construction that will find cracks in concrete, that will look for flashing, it's looking for construction terms, and it's using artificial intelligence to help document that. That way, if you want to come back and search it, you can do that. Again, people, process, and then technology fills that gap. So simple things that we can do. And let me tell you, this is something I've been working with Graybar on. We're doing some research right now, partnering with Graybar because they have so many resources, and we've been using some stopwatches and we've been doing some other things but 40% of labor on the job site is spent on non-productive activities. We've learned that a cost for a PO is by electrical, is $68. So electrical contractors spend $68 on the average PO. The average foreman spends around 8 hours a week managing materials. And you look at this and you start to put in some of those numbers and think about that depending on your orders per month. And this is a large contractor, but these are some of the things we've been looking at and tracking. And I believe our margins can increase so much by doing this digital transformation to be aware that the amount of time that it takes to make how many phone calls, to fill out forms, to send emails, to print slips, to do data entry. This process is riddled with redundancy, with potential for errors, omissions, and how many times has something been shipped to your shop or to a job site that you signed off on that wasn't even the right product coming from one of your distributors? Now, what do you do with that? There is money. I always like to say that the devil's in the details, but I believe the margins are in data. And that's where we start using tools like this, Remarkable, Structure, Agora, Inspire. I'll give Rob these slides. So he has all these slides and you can use these. And if you have questions, please ask. But these are 4 products that our contractors are using to digitize their material management process, to get more visibility across all projects going on in your company, to see exactly what's happening at any given time. So these are tools specifically meant for digitizing the material management process, a great area of low-hanging fruit for a lot of you to be able to better manage your materials. Now, one of the other things when it comes to data, we talk about material management, we talked about customizing forms. This is another research project going on at ELECTRI right now. We're trying to use data to quantify fairness of contracts. I'm in the market right now for contracts. We're working with Document Crunch, and I've partnered with the sheet metal and mechanical contractors foundations. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to show the fairness of a contract. Where we want to be able to go is say you can upload your contracts to Document Crunch. I'm working on building a template, and it can come back and tell you that this contract language is fair, that it's not fair, it's very unfair. So green means this is fair, yellow means it's not great, Here's an alternative language that you can use from consensus docs. This is really unfair language. Where we hope to be able to get is to give you the confidence to be able to say at some point in time that you run your contracts through Document Crunch, and based off ELECTRI, what we're going to say is, hey, 82% of your fellow electrical contracting peers in your market will not sign this language. Don't let them bully you into signing this language. That's what we're trying to do at ELECTRI, to make that more of the contracts more of a fair process. So that's one of our big research projects that we're working on right now. And I'm currently in the process of collecting contracts and assessing this. We're looking at the key clauses that really impact trade partners and specialty contractors. So the electrical, mechanical, and sheet metal contractors the most. And here's the thing, here's why. Let me talk to you about other industries right now. I think this is very important. Now, we're just coming off the Super Bowl. When you hear that quality control offensive coach or quality control defensive coach, know what they're doing is they're leveraging software today. They've been measuring based off metrics, what are tendencies for an offensive coordinator based on turf, field, dome, outside, quarter, down, yardage, all these factors, weather conditions, there's all these factors that come into play. And if you line up in a certain formation, they start to get this down. So, hey, if they line up in this formation right now, they're 30% more likely to run this play than any other play in their playbook. Pay attention to 28 and 34. If you see 28 go in motion, now we went from 30% chance of them running this play to now 77% chance of them trying to get 80 on an island together and moving something around and watching for the dump off here. So 28's going to clear out, 30 is going to come here. So we need to make sure that this inside linebacker is shifting last minute. That's what's happening in football today. That's what's happening in basketball today. That's what's happening in baseball with a shift. How do we become Moneyball contractors? The only way we can get there, the way that we can lower project risk, the way that we can create more accurate estimates and producing bids, keeping projects on track and getting visibility at 30%, 60%, 90%, we have to shift from a commodity playing in a world that's in a race to the bottom, who can be the cheapest and fastest, to how can you be a partner to that owner? These opportunities are coming at us right now. Your ability to be able to partner with an owner is available to, it is growing. The 21st century is the century for the electrical contractor to sign service contracts. We didn't need service contracts when we installed conduit and pull wire. There's not a whole lot to do there. But as you think about these integrated systems on these buildings, that how many times do you have to reset your Wi-Fi password a month? How many times do you have to reconnect these things? It's systems integration, and the intelligence is a huge opportunity for all of us on this call. And where you need to be looking at this is I'm talking about, we're doing a lot of things at ELECTRI. I'm very excited. We've got a KPI report that's coming out right now that's going to help you measure the health of your business against other benchmarks, other contractors that are similar to size and you and doing volume of work in your regions. You know, what's your net margin? You know, what's your gross profit margin? What's your time for, what's your cost to create an estimate? So what's your price to put a bid package together? How can you compare those things and look at where you're strong and where you need to improve? And what I hope that we can start to do is, as I believe, and I told you this, the devils are in the details, the margins are in the data. We've got to change the conversation. We've got to start to talk internally. We've got to start to talk to GCs. We've got to get out in front of the owners. The opportunity is going to come to us, and we've got to be ready to say, Mr. and Mrs. Owner, did you know that the Department of Labor accepts these values that came from an ELECTRI study over a decade ago, that on a 50-hour work week, after 3 weeks, your productivity falls off at about 2 to 3% a week. You know, by the time you're 12 weeks in, you know, you've lost a significant amount of productivity. On a 60-hour work week, it's even more. We're trying to bid all these jobs. We surveyed randomly 2,000 projects, and right around 2,000 projects in 2018. Of those 2,000 projects, 2/3 of them were carrying overtime. And out of those that we tracked, 50% of them had to extend the project end date. Overtime is not a silver bullet. Overtime, when we're not careful, leads to more absenteeism. I want us to start having conversations to be able to say, Forbes tells me on for an average worker that 410s is 20% more productive than 5/8s. What if we started work half the crew on Monday and we start half the crew on Tuesdays and we work 410s? That way we're there 5 days if that's what the owner expects. But how can we staff jobs? I'm not worried about, I don't, for me, I don't want to weaponize data that we can use against our labor partners. That's not what I want to do. I want to learn that my attendance is better on 410s than 5/8s, that my productivity is better on 5/8s at certain times of the year than 410s, that certain times of the year, I need to count on Fridays being a terrible time for me to plan on doing work after a certain time of the day, that I'm aware of when hunting season opens, that I'm going to have this much, I'm going to have a couple weeks there that's going to be tough. Or now that I track this so I can make better decisions on my business. That we not only can look at the business, we can see where do we need to be going. Right now, the energy storage market is a hard trend right now. We see from 2020, it was 3.7 billion. So energy storage now is the expectation of where this is going is 23.4 billion by 2027. How many of us are looking at that as a group? That's what I want to be able to help you see from an ELECTRI standpoint. And let me just challenge you on this. This is United Rentals has their total control system. And if you've not used this, you've got access to it. I've been looking at total control. Years ago, someone came to the board and said, you know what, we've got to help our customers see us as a consultant. We need to help them own waste. That we need them to come to us and say, hey, you know what, you've got too many scissor lifts on your job site. I saw this firsthand. They went to one of our contractors in Texas and said, hey, we've been watching and we've been testing this and looking at this, and we're getting some feedback right now that's alarming. You've got 17 scissor lifts that are almost way below. Here's the standard use of a scissor lift on a job site. Through some simple sensors and a program that they put together, they're saying you are way below that on all of your scissor lifts. The contractor said, oh man, we hit a massive snag on the job and the job's been postponed we've got to relocate this fiber optic system. It was not documented. It's going to take us 4.5 months. And they said, okay, well, look, here we go. We'll take some of those off and we'll continue to monitor this. We'll deliver them to you just in time. Now I can tell you, when they proposed this idea, the board at United Rentals said, why would we do that? We make a fortune off our owners' waste. One of the people at the boards that was proposing this said, I disagree. I think we make money off waste, but I think we're missing on a lot of opportunities where our contractors don't have enough resources. And that, okay, they may be 17 too many scissor lifts over here, but there are 3 short here, 2 short here, 4 short here. And guess what? Over time, they balance themselves out. How can we have that mindset to be able to do things for our owners to show that we're not in a race to the bottom, that we're not a commodity, to get out of that world of who's the cheapest and fastest, that they see us as a consultant? How are we willing to change our business and invest in something that helps you grow? Now, let me tell you this. This is something that I've got a whole prefab talk, and we can do that at a future date, Rob, and I'm happy to talk about that. But this productization is not going anywhere. Standardization is evolving into productization. Our contractors around the country are selling duct bank spacers to other NECA contractors. They're selling some prefab components. They're selling duct bank. If you're not looking at how you can partner in your market today with other NECA contractors and gain a competitive advantage with some of the resources that are there, and how you buy differently, how you deliver differently, I challenge you to start doing some of those things in your own chapter, to start thinking about how you deliver jobs so that we can win more jobs, that we can increase our market share, that we can have, that we can still make our margins, but know that we're grabbing more work, and that hopefully as we grab that work, that we're starting to think about how this is going to lead into more service opportunities for us. How you buy from your suppliers, how you manufacturers going direct. We're seeing more and more of that. GCs trying to buy direct from manufacturers, owners trying to buy direct. I'm working on a white paper on that to educate owners and say, here's why you don't want to do that. So, and here's what I want to do. I skipped forward here. I kind of did a little leap, but I want to ask some questions. What if we take the money out of it so we don't know where we're at? What if the Penn-Del-Jersey chapter had a way of tracking bids and simply just we could tie it into some tools that are out there, but we all agree to anonymize the data, but look at who's winning work on what type of work. We can simplify this as much as we possibly can, but what if we could track bids and follow bids just to check against any BF data? What if we could just ask some different questions? What if we see something that we don't see today? What if NECA had a time card app? What if we had the ability to help standardize some cost codes? What if we could see trends in real time that we could take a NECA time card app that gave us the ability to see in real time how projects are forming up across the country for contractors of different sizes, and if we've got cost codes incorporated into that? What if we could see real-time data and trends based around a time card? What if we digitized the book? What if the local had the ability to put a QR code on a person's hard hat and show all their local certifications? I know you guys are working on these cards here in Penn-Del. You're ahead of the curve, but what if everything was digital from our workforce, and we could see certifications, and we could what if we held ourselves accountable to say, this is how many people we need? We're going to forecast as contractors how many people we need, and holding ourselves more accountable. I believe through data, we can take politics out of some of this. Currently, politics can hold us back in certain making decisions. How many apprentices we're going to take in? What does data tell us about our CWCEs, and what about a recovery program is working? That if we could have different conversations to say that CWCEs are leading to more journeymen, getting more time to do whatever it is. I believe data can help us ask different questions and really start to hold our own self accountable and just change the conversation. I'm working on this right now. I've got a final draft I'm supposed to be able to review this week, but we've taken 40 key performance indicators. We had about 700 NECA contractors around the country go out and put some of this information in and fill it out. What I want to be able to do is tell you, based off your size of your business and volume, I want you to be able to actually do a health check on your business. Today, if you grew 2.5% last year, and this is your market, and you're this size, well, the average contractor grew 11%. They increased their gross profit margins by 11%, and they increased their net profit margins but your gross profit was a 2.5% increase. You think I grew last year, but when you can compare it to your other peers, it's all anonymized, that, oh, the average person grew 11%. I know one thing that motivates our contractors is they're very competitive. And our ability to see where do I need to be bidding different types of jobs? Do I need to be doing more design build? Do I need to be doing less bidding on projects? Because for some reason, my gross profit margin is well below. My net profit margin is closer, but what am I missing? Where are there holes and gaps in my business that can help me? And I just want to tell you, there's a lot we're working on. ELECTRI is a resource to you. I am always here to support you. We've just released our big microgrids practical guide. Anybody can go to electri.org and set up a free account, download any of this research. Cybersecurity, with all these intelligent buildings and smart buildings, smart infrastructure, Tier 2 is coming for all federal projects by the end of this year. And it's going to roll down into retail. It's going to roll down into every owner, requiring you to have a cybersecurity maturity model certificate. Every one of you are going to have to do this going forward so that buildings are not getting hacked. So if you're not there, this is a great resource to help you. We're doing a lot of lean research right now, looking at lean transformation to how you can reduce waste. We're looking at career mapping. I believe our workforce is going to look different in the next 5 to 10 years, and who we're bringing in to help us do more with less, new positions and new titles. And we need to recruit different people to come into the office. And then how do you retain those people, attract and retain them? What matters the most? I mean, I hope, if nothing else this morning, that you've got questions based off this conversation, that you are going to today maybe have a conversation with yourself or someone in your office to say, to think about some of these things. And I hope that down the road that you'll come to me and let me know what I can do to help. But I do believe, as we look at our industry and where we're at, is that there's a lot of hard trends that are telling us the industry is changing right now. I'm still very optimistic. The electrical, it's an exciting time to be an electrical contractor. I'm so excited to be where I'm at and try to help each and every one of you on this call. But I think we need to be asking some different questions. And Jack and I are, we know we can work together and help you, and Rob. And, I work very closely with Rob and Jeff and the team there. So Rob knows he can reach out to me anytime. I think we need to be asking some different questions about how we can work together. If you do want to pull out your phone again, we're trying to look at some of these trends like electricity again. Well, I'll share these slides with you, but if you just point your phone at the, now we're not dinosaurs anymore, but it's got that in the QR code. But look at this and look at what digital electricity is. They're up in Velt servers up in Rhode Island. And a lot of our contractors across the country have been implementing their technologies, but there's basically zero fall off over 6,500 feet on this digital electricity. It converts AC to DC, and where this is going is you're going to be able to hook your appliances and things up to, and it's off to the touch. I mean, it can support up to 100 volts. It's safe to the touch. The way that it sends the way that it sends energy, it sends these packets of data, and it feels like a little pinprick for a second, but it's safe to the touch. It's going to be in that new safety classification of 4. So we got to be careful. We got to look at these things and make sure carpenters and others aren't trying to come from this, because it's a safer technology. So there's a video from one of our ELECTRI contractors talking about this technology and what we learned on a field trip. Again, one of the things we're doing here too is we're happy to come to your market. I've got a dedicated person to this now. Megan Saucier comes from a construction and education background. What we're trying to do is we'd love to come to Philadelphia and set up a half-day session to teach you, give you exposure to robotic total stations, laser scanners. These newer technologies are out there, whether it's a Matterport or a full envelope, show you how to use these tools, and then invite some students in locally to learn some of these skill sets too. Because I'll tell you, if you're going out doing field measurements on a project and you got 2 people out there field measuring for 2 weeks on a job, I can tell you, I've done what we budgeted on for 2 people for 2 weeks. I've done that in half a day with a laser scanner, because it saves so much time and energy in how I use that. I'm not saying it's right for everything, but we're trying to bring contractors closer together with students in technical and community colleges, educate middle schoolers and high schoolers on this changing, evolving world of electrical contracting. So we've got a number of things we're doing there. And Rob, I'm happy I'd love to be able to work with you more closely on some of these things. And if you have relationships, if any of your wives are teachers, or your spouses or husbands or teachers in middle school and high school, and we would love to help them. But we want to educate parents and counselors on this amazing industry that is electrical contracting. And I'll open it up to questions now, but I want to tell you, this is a book that I've really enjoyed reading. And it's, if you are an Amazon Prime member, by the way, and you're not taking advantage of the Audible app, depends on how much money you spend on Amazon on Prime, but I get about 1 free credit a month. So I get a new Audible book and I can listen to it in the truck as I'm driving around or in the airplane. And this book is one that really stood out to me. Think Again. It's just, there's so many unknown unknowns. And I believe through data we can start asking better questions. And down the road, my goal is to give all of you a tremendous competitive advantage by helping us see things happening before other contractors understand that it's taking place. And my philosophy that I live by is this mindset here of Alvin Toffler. It's the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but it will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So, I want to help with those things, and a lot of great things happening out there. I will tell you, if you want to go take the KPI research, pull out your phone again. We'll share this out, but you can pull out your phone, scan this. You can go take the KPI report, and as soon as the report's available, we'll send it to you, and you can actually compare your own metrics to others. So you can, you can take the survey yourself and get your own report of how you stack up and compare to other contractors in your region, in your market. And then listen, if your accountants tell you that you do not qualify for tax credits, please don't take that as an answer anymore. I know there's I've heard some things that it's caused some electrical contractors to get audited. Be careful about it, but there's so much opportunity out there and money with these tax credits. If you're trying some of these new things, they apply. So take advantage of the tools and resources that are available to you. This is another video that we did with Moss Adams. The person in this video is a specialist in tax credits for the construction industry, and specifically R&D tax credits for Moss Adams. They actually lead a lot of this and work very closely with the IRS. So with that, I'll open it up to some questions.
Wow, Josh, great presentation. I know you covered a lot there. Everyone on the line here, you do have the ability to unmute yourself. So if you have a question, please feel free to use the chat feature, unmute yourself and ask Josh. Just following up, I will be emailing out Josh's presentation and his contact information, as well as the ELECTRI website. As NECA members, you do have access to all the research studies that are on that site. So please check it out and see. You'll find a lot of useful information there. So with that,
electri.org.
Yep. Any questions for Josh? Hearing none. I know there's a lot of information covered, so I will be uploading this video to our chapter's website too. So you're welcome to share with your companies. And then I just wanted to do a shout out for next month's Industry Hour, which will be on March 3rd, on how electrical contractors are managing volatile material prices. This is going to be with Agora Inc., which was one of the company logos that Josh had on his slide. So I hope you all can join us then. And with that, we're going to conclude, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.